My name is Kerry Martin, and I am bipolar. And in 2013, spent 2 months in my parents' guest bedroom looking at a bookcase. I could not get out of bed. And as I started to get better, my family was wonderful. I went to go see a doctor, tried different drugs and so forth and so on, went to therapy. I started realizing that even though I'd gone through this dark time, was blessed, because not everybody has my family, my five brothers and sisters. Not everybody has financial support. And I thought to myself, how on earth are people without that sort of support system getting through a depression? And the reality is they're not. Every 43 seconds, someone in this country takes their own life. And every 43 seconds, someone is left wondering why, what happened. As someone who's tried to take my own life 3 times, I can answer that question for you, because I'm still here. You basically lose hope. You have no hope. I thought to myself, this is unacceptable, and I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to give people back hope. So I started a nonprofit in September of 2013 called Hope Exchange. Hope Exchange Uptown Community Timebank, that is, the mission is to restore hope and to bring back that whole concept about helping thy neighbor. You know, the thing I really like about a time bank is the concept is so incredibly simple. You give an hour of your time and you get 1 hour time credit. That credit can then be used to take out an hour of somebody else's time. You know, there are time banks, successful time banks already running all over the world. The European Union did an extensive study, and one of their key things they are looking at is it really helping people get back to work. And what they found was the following. Time banks reach people who volunteer programs never reach. They get them out of their house and they empower them. You know, back when I was living with my parents and coming out of this profound depression, which lasted about 6 months, and obviously knocked me on my feet for that amount of time, off my feet I should say, I realized as I was coming out I needed to get back to work. You know, financially it's a huge problem if you can't work for 6 months. So it was unimaginable to me to imagine myself, after sitting around for 6 months, to be at an office, like actually talking to people and working and being functional again. I couldn't make that connection. Like, I didn't see that as a bridge I could walk over. But I had to. I had no choice. I kind of started slowly working with my resume, but imagine writing a resume when you've got absolutely no self-esteem. And, you know, when you're coming out of depression and you apply for jobs and you get these rejection letters, it makes it really, really hard to get back on your feet again. So what would have been so wonderful for me if there had been some sort of intermediate step. So when I was crossing the bridge, I could have stopped at a point and said, I prefer to stay at home right now. I prefer to be sheltered. I'm not ready for the real world. But I build websites. I'm a marketing specialist. I love working for nonprofits. I could have gotten into the time bank. I could have looked for somebody who needed me. I wouldn't have to sell myself. I would say, oh, you know, I've done this before. I can work virtually from home, and I can get this to you in 8 hours. They would have been jumping for joy, because, you know, I've got great credentials and references and all that good stuff. And they would say, oh my goodness, what a fabulous find, Kerry. Thank you so much for doing this for us. And I would have said, no, thank you. Thank you for letting me, on my own terms, take time to remind myself by working that I can do it. I really can get back to work. Because when you're depressed, it's like your brain, you can't even speak. And you don't want to speak because you think no one wants to hear what you have to say. So you completely isolate yourself. But to be able to come out of my shell in a time bank setting where I could work at home and just help other people would have made me feel so much better. And I would have got back into the job market much sooner than I did. As it turned out, of course, I didn't go get a real job. I started Hope Exchange because I believe that we can help people who are depressed get back to work more quickly. I believe we can empower single moms to start their own businesses. I believe we can empower undergraduate college kids to hang in there, pay back their student loans, because it is going to get better. I believe we can empower the elderly to get out of their house and to babysit for other people's kids. Imagine the joy that would bring them. Imagine the relief it would bring a single mom so she could attend night school. I believe the disabled have so much to give and want to give so much, but because they're on fixed income disability, can't work. Let's put them to work. If we're not going to do this, who is? 50% of bipolar people try and commit suicide at some point in their lives. 20% succeed. We want to change these statistics. We want to give people back hope. We also realize that even though 1 out of 4 Americans are depressed, only 1 out of 3 seek treatment. Why are people not reaching out? And the answer is very simple. Because of stigma and because of shame, they remain in silence and they remain in pain. And we're not okay with that. We have got to break down the wall of stigma, take away the shame, and allow people to speak freely about what's going on with them. So they seek treatment and they get help. The only way to break down the wall is to involve everybody. Everybody in the community has a role to play. And we each have to step up and play our part, each and every one of us. And through that, we will break down the wall, brick by brick, over time. More people will seek treatment. More people will get help. More people will decide, you know what? I'm going to get up tomorrow instead of taking my life because I feel hopeful again. Tomorrow is going to be better. And we are asking for $105,000. We came up with that number by looking at what it would take to start a time bank. The time bank itself is run online on a website, which is not that expensive. But you also need a drop-in center, so you need to lease a building so people who don't have a computer or maybe just want to swing by and have a cup of tea can come in and sit down, and you can have computer stations there and they can go in and set themselves up and do offers and exchanges and so forth. We can hold orientations there so we can teach people about the time bank. We can hold potlucks there so we can have neighbors interact with neighbors so that if you know somebody, you're more likely to trade them because you trust them already. And so that's one big thing. The other big piece of the budget is going towards a paid time bank administrator. Studies have shown that the time banks that succeed and are brilliant at getting new members and getting members active and exchanging have a paid administrator. Who facilitates things and kind of runs the back end. There's a lot of back end kind of stuff when you have the software set up that needs to be attended to. So the other chunk of the money would go for that person's salary for a year.